And as you mentioned, Briella, the decision by a federal judge to toss those charges against Mayor Adams now means the mayor does not have to worry about the cases he runs as an independent.
Yeah, joining us now to talk about that and much more is political analyst Hank Sheinkopf. And good to see you, as always, Hank. Boy, this corruption charge just got thrown right out the window. It is done. And this morning, it's all about the mayor running as an independent, not the charges. Is this, I may as well try it as an independent, or is there a real path for him to get reelected?
There is a real path for him to get reelected. Look at the crime numbers, look at the job numbers. It's just been cloudy. He's got to be able to get on the screen and say, look, some things I did good, some things I did bad. I'm sorry, but I've changed. Look, we've got a police commissioner that's doing the job. We got a real deputy mayor, first deputy mayor that's doing the job. We've made real strides. We don't want that to be clouded. And then he's got to say, then somebody's got to go after the former governor and take him on. You know, that's part of the deal.
Is this about giving him also more runway to take on Andrew Cuomo? Because otherwise, the primary is in June, the Democratic primary. The window would be very short. Now, he doesn't have to worry about it until November when the general election happens.
He's got much more time to make his case, but he's also got more time to be attacked. That's number one. Number two, he's got a broader base of voters with which he can get. He can get Republicans, he can get independents, he can get all kinds of people that he might not have had before, and conservatives, which Andrew Cuomo likely will not get.
All right, let's talk about yesterday, because yesterday Mayor Adams held up a book from Kash Patel. And basically, you know, it was about dealing with the current situation and federal charges. Does this kind of, is he foreshadowing his campaign? Do you think that he's going to be looking for Trump's support here in New York City? And how will that play?
No, I don't think he's looking for Trump's support. I just think he's making a very basic case, which is he beat it, because it didn't matter. And this goes to part of the Cuomo, which I think is a ridiculous strategy. You have to be nutty to believe that in a city where the perfect voter, most likely to vote, is a 55-year-old plus black woman, that they're going to say, oh, we don't like Eric Adams and we're voting for Andrew Cuomo. That's patently Cuomo ridiculousness. It's not going to happen. He will do much better with black women than anybody thinks, and that's part of the basis for his victory in the fall.
Okay, so we need to talk about I just lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay. It happens. So let's talk about this.
Let's get on that train now.
I know. I'm just wondering. I mean, like, this hasn't happened since 1969.
69, correct. John Lindsay.
John Lindsay. What did John Lindsay do that maybe Eric Adams can kind of, you know, incorporate in his...
You know, I'm Eric Adams. I'm your mayor. I think a lot of you know me. New Yorkers are forgiving people. Let me tell you something. I did some bad things. Bad things. In other words, I didn't get it right. But I've changed it. And now, look, crime numbers are down. Jobs are up. The city's cleaner. We've made a lot of progress. There's a lot more to do. What I'm asking for you to do is give me another shot, because I think we can, together, we can make New York even better. That's his argument.
So what does the argument against him become with, you know, Andrew Cuomo, Mamdani, all the others that are running as a Democrat right now, specifically?
Well, Mamdani's argument is a very simple one. He's fresh. The others are tired, you know? He's got a perfect platform. He's handsome. He's great to the camera. The things he's saying will appeal to some people deep on the left. Scott Stringer has something to say. He'll win the West Side, take that away from Andrew Cuomo in a Democratic primary, unquestionably so. Brad Lander has something to say. He'll take the brownstone belt and large portions of Brooklyn and the yuppie, whatever they are, and people are way on the left, away from Andrew Cuomo. So where does Andrew Cuomo get his votes to win in a significant number to go into a fall? He's going to be wounded. He's going to have to defend his own record. He's got corruption and all kinds of other problems. Let's be real. This is a real race now.
You sound like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, which is why I'm asking you, that you don't think it's automatic that Cuomo's going to be the guy from the Democratic Party?
I have to be candid and say there's only one person, there's only one political consultant who's probably won more races in New York City, citywide. That's me, and he's also taken Andrew Cuomo out twice. Once in the governor's race in 2002, once when he and his father tried to take over the Liberal Party. So I'm the guy. And my sense is that he is entirely beatable and should be examined very carefully for everything he did or did not do. CUNY alone, the disinvestment in CUNY under the Cuomo administration, which the state runs today, is something that African-American and minority voters need to look at carefully, because that's taking away their opportunities to make real lives.
Do you think the ranked choice voting helps Andrew Cuomo?
No, I think it helps.
I
think it helps Mamdani and the left, because they can organize around it much better. And they're better at organizing than Democrats have been. It's real simple. Look at the city council. It is certainly not in the center, definitely on the left, which tells you the left has more opportunities and better skills of doing this.
So with all this like infighting between the Democrats, is this good for Curtis Sliwa, who wants to run for under
As
the
a
Republican?
Republican, yeah.
Under the Republican line.
He's a very nice man. He should save his money and buy a house.
So you're saying he has no shot at all?
Look, the day that look, he's a very fine person, and he gave the city great service in the 70s with the Guardian Angels. But you know what? Everything comes to conclusion.
There is another person running on the Republican line, right? Jim Walden?
Yeah.
Does he
Jim
have a
Walden,
shot?
nice fella, you know, but there are other things to do in life.
All right, so let's bring this back to Mayor Adams because, as we said, he's got 7 months now where he may get dirtied up a little bit, but he doesn't have to run in a primary, doesn't have to get a vote, whereas everybody else, there's steps along the way that they've got to, hurdles along the way that they've got to overcome.
Eric Adams' hurdle is Eric Adams. He's going to have to explain why things got to this point and why people should say, wait a second, let's give it a look. New Yorkers are very forgiving people. The classic example, which Ro and I were talking about before, is John Lindsay in 1969. He got on the camera and he said, look, there's some, we've done a lot of good things, and there's some the mistakes I made, and there were a lot of good things I did. And by the way, that's when Dave Garth came up with the line, this is the, may rest in peace, this is the second toughest job in America. I think Eric Adams can make those arguments again. Andrew Cuomo cannot. Why? Because he had the job, he lost the job, and he screwed up the job. Let's be clear. If you look at CUNY alone, if you look at bail reform, discovery law reform, and the number of cop killers that were released by Andrew Cuomo's parole board, you have a story that is going to be hard to get past.
I know, but I think New Yorkers are just, they want safety, they want moderation, and that's what Andrew Cuomo stands for.
Now, Jessica Tisch stands for that. She's done a brilliant job as police commissioner.
So
The
she's
numbers
not running for mayor.
But she is his police commissioner, and Eric Adams can take credit for it. And you can look at the spike in crime under Andrew Cuomo. Really. His problems with Bill de Blasio and the battle that he had on a constant basis didn't help the city at all. They were good for Andrew Cuomo, but they weren't good for New York City.
I think it's pretty clear you don't think Andrew Cuomo's going to win. You're not a big fan of his. So.
What I'm saying is something different. What I'm saying is this is now a horse race.
Right, okay.
And that's different. I'm not saying that Andrew Cuomo won't win or can't win. I'm saying this is a horse race, and we ought to be able to look at both sides of the equation. Nobody is Simon Pure.
Right.
Okay? It doesn't work that way.
Were you surprised at the mayor announcing ahead of the primary that he's running as an independent? Because we keep referring to John Lindsay, 1969.
Right.
He ran the Republican primary, lost it,
Correct.
and then became an independent. And I think a lot of people were wondering if Mayor Adams would do that. Are you surprised he took this route?
I think that he had no choice. He's got to raise money, a significant amount of money. He needs the money. Money takes time. Also, it takes time for people in the electorate to say, wait a second, maybe I need to reconsider. And Andrew Cuomo's poll numbers are really good. I know, you know, like I've said in the past, a poll like this in March or April is as good as let's see, a load and coat in New York City in July, because it doesn't necessarily hold up. You know, things change. The electorate is a very mobile event, how it does what it does. And counting on a victory now is patently absurd and not fair to the electorate. It's like saying, you're going to do it anyway. That's not how you win campaigns.
All right,
I
Hank,
didn't think we were going to end on that.
I know. I think we're going to write down everything Hank said to see whether it turns out to be true in June.
I'm just saying it's a horse race.
It's a horse race.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've got 7 months till the general election, which just became much more interesting, if you will, from a political standpoint, because we know that Mayor Adams will be there, where we weren't sure yesterday.
I wouldn't cock any. I would not get champagne bottles, pop the corks, and say, "Oh, Andrew Cuomo's the mayor," or "Eric Adams is the mayor." This is now a horse race.
All right. Thank you, Hank. Always insightful. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just say one thing.
Yes.
Get out and vote. 1/3 of registered voters vote in New York City
Do
elections.
you think this will drive up the number of voters that show up because of the horse race factor? More so than normal?
It depends on the kind of campaign that frankly, the Adams family, the Adams operation runs. If they run a campaign that is factually based and is emotional in content, the numbers are likely to go up. And I think black voters are going to say, wait a second, that indictment was wrong. It's another way of beating the devil out of one of us. And I think they're going to turn out and vote for Adams, not for Cuomo.
All right.
All right.
It's going to be interesting to watch.
Vote.
Thank you, Hank.
Thank you.
All right.